So Luke Skywalker was able to look at Daddy Darth and realize that he didn't want to become like him. But why is it so hard for us sometimes to learn from those who have gone before us? Well, stick around because today we're going to open Daniel chapter 5 and look at an account of a king who didn't learn from his father and ended up dead. Hi there, my name is WayneWrz, and on this channel we are walking the journey towards Jesus together. You can subscribe to join our community and get a new Bible study video every Tuesday. When I started working at the railroad, there were two people who were close to retirement, one electrician and one machinist. It was a union job, so the guy who had been there the longest had the pick of shift and some other perks that came along with being that. And so the machinist that had been there the longest was referred to as the number one machinist. Our number one machinist was Ted. It's hard to be humble. Humble was actually his last name. And Ted was a great machinist and an all-around nice guy. But Ted had no problem letting you know that he knew the right way to do something and that the right way to do something was his way. No matter how long we live, being humble is something that I think we always need to be aware of. Curtis McCall was an electrician who was also only a couple years from retirement, and I spent a lot of time in my first month or so learning from Curtis. Curtis knew what he was doing, and he took the time to show me the ropes. I didn't actually see any literal ropes while I was there, but he took the time to show me what he knew about being an electrician on the locomotives. I was able to learn from Curtis how these massive machines worked and how to best conduct inspections on them. Because he had been through this before, because he had been doing this for a long time, he was able to pass on information to me that helped me. In Daniel chapter 5, we see the story of King Belshazzar, who was the king of Babylon after King Nebuchadnezzar. Belshazzar throws a great feast for 1,000 of his noblemen, and they're drinking wine, and then Belshazzar orders that the gold and silver vessels be brought to them. These vessels were taken by King Nebuchadnezzar from the temple in Jerusalem. Then a mysterious hand shows up and starts writing on the wall of the room they're having this banquet in. The king calls for his wise men and for his magicians, but they can't read it or interpret it. So then eventually the king calls for Daniel. And in verse 18, Daniel says, "O king, the Most High God granted sovereignty, grandeur, glory, and majesty to Nebuchadnezzar your father. Because of the grandeur which he bestowed on him, all the peoples, nations, and men of every language feared and trembled before him. Whomever he wished he killed, and whomever he wished he spared alive, and whomever he wished he elevated, and whomever he wished he humbled. But when his heart was lifted up, and his spirit became so proud that he behaved arrogantly, he was deposed from his royal throne, and his glory was taken away from him." And then verse 22 says, "Yet you, his son Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, even though you knew all this. But you have exalted yourself against the Lord of heaven." Only a few verses later, we learn that Belshazzar's life was taken that night, and his kingdom was given to Darius the Mede. Belshazzar had heard the story of King Nebuchadnezzar living like a wild animal for 7 years. But Belshazzar didn't let this story affect him, and he didn't live any differently knowing that information. He was full of pride and full of himself. He didn't take the time to learn from those who had gone before him. Oftentimes in our lives, we have people who are farther along on the journey than we are. And it's good to remember that we don't have to learn every lesson the hard way. We can look at the pain and the hardships that other people have gone through because of their decisions, and we can use that information to decide that we might want to change our course. We've seen what the dark side of pride can do. Will we choose to live differently? Thank you so much for checking out the video this week. If you liked it, you can hit that thumbs up button, and you can share it with a friend, and you can subscribe for a new video every Tuesday. Let me leave you with this question that you can answer in the comments and discuss with a friend, a parent, or a pastor. Who can you go to this week and ask them to share a story of when God worked in their lives? There are a few more questions below for discussion that I would encourage you to check out, and we'll see you later, alligator. What was I able to do? Belshazzar. Golly, so close. We've seen what the